It begins not with a roar, but with a whisper carried on the frigid winds of a world utterly alien to our modern sensibilities. A world where vast sheets of ice sculpted continents and survival was a daily brutal negotiation with nature. This was the stage upon which a story of profound significance unfolded, a tale of two distinct human lineages, their paths converging in a dance of genetic exchange that echoes still within our very cells. We speak, of course, of the encounters between Homo sapiens, our direct ancestors emerging from the crucible of Africa, and the enigmatic Neanderthals, the seasoned residents of Ice Age Eurasia. For generations, the popular imagination painted these interactions as a brutal clash, a narrative of the strong displacing the weak. But the silent language of DNA, painstakingly deciphered in recent decades, tells a far more nuanced and frankly more human story. It speaks of interbreeding, of children born of these unions raising a question that resonates through the millennia. Was it love, or was it simply survival? To truly grasp the weight of these encounters, we must first understand the protagonists. Homo sapiens, with our slender frames and burgeoning cognitive abilities, had begun our slow, inexorable migration out of Africa roughly 60,000 to 70,000 years ago. We were adaptable, innovative, and driven by an insatiable curiosity that pushed us ever onward. But as we ventured into the cold, ancient lands of the Middle East and Europe, we were not alone. These territories were already home to a robust, highly adapted human species, Homo neanderthalensis. Neanderthals were not the brutish, knuckle-dragging caricatures often depicted. They were formidable. Stockier and more powerfully built than Homo sapiens, with prominent brow ridges and large noses, they were perfectly engineered for the harsh glacial environments they inhabited for hundreds of thousands of years. They were skilled hunters, capable of bringing down megafauna like mammoths and woolly rhinos. They crafted sophisticated tools, controlled fire, and lived in complex social structures. There is evidence of them caring for their sick and elderly, burying their dead, and even adorning themselves with pigments and shell beads, behaviors long considered exclusive to modern humans. Their brains, in fact, were on average slightly larger than our own, though organized differently. For millennia, these two species coexisted, sometimes in relative isolation, sometimes in close proximity. The landscape of their interaction was not a single event, but a series of encounters stretched across vast swathes of time and geography. The earliest evidence of interbreeding points to events occurring as far back as 100,000 years ago, perhaps in the Levant, a crucial geographical crossroads between Africa and Eurasia. Later, more significant episodes of interbreeding appear to have taken place between 50,000 and 60,000 years ago, as modern humans spread rapidly across Eurasia. The revelation of Neanderthal DNA in the genome of non-African modern humans was a seismic shift in our understanding of human history. Pioneering work by geneticists like Svante Pääbo and his team at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany, involved the monumental task of extracting and sequencing ancient DNA from Neanderthal bones. What they found was astonishing. A small but significant percentage of Neanderthal DNA, typically ranging from 1% to 4%, is present in the genomes of people of European and Asian descent. This genetic legacy is not uniformly distributed across our genome. Some regions show a higher concentration of Neanderthal DNA, while others are entirely devoid of it, suggesting a complex interplay of natural selection acting on these introgressed genes over tens of thousands of years. But what does this genetic whisper truly tell us about the nature of these encounters? The question of love or survival is, of course, a simplification, a way to frame the multifaceted possibilities of human interaction. It's unlikely to be a simple binary. The truth, as is often the case with the grand narratives of our past, probably lies somewhere in the intricate tapestry woven from both motivations. Consider the notion of love. While we cannot with any scientific certainty speak to the emotional bonds formed between individual Homo sapiens and Neanderthals, it is not unreasonable to imagine such connections. Humans, regardless of species, are social beings. They form bonds, seek companionship, and are capable of empathy and affection. In small dispersed populations facing the harsh realities of the Ice Age, where every individual was a valuable resource, the opportunities for interaction, however, infrequent, could have led to genuine relationships. Perhaps a lone Neanderthal male encountered a small band of modern human hunter-gatherers, or vice versa. Perhaps curiosity or even attraction overcame initial trepidation. We know that both species possessed complex communication skills even if their languages differed. Shared experiences, shared dangers, the fundamental human need for connection. These could all have fostered bonds that transcended species boundaries. The idea of two individuals from different human groups finding solace and perhaps even love in each old in a vast and often terrifying world is a powerful and deeply human notion. However, to purely romanticize these interactions would be to ignore the harsh realities of the time. The concept of survival offers a compelling, if less romantic, explanation for the observed interbreeding patterns. In small, isolated populations, genetic diversity is a precious commodity. It's the raw material upon which natural selection acts, allowing a species to adapt to changing environments and resist disease. Both Homo sapiens entering Eurasia and the already established Neanderthals would have faced constant environmental pressures, disease outbreaks, and the ever-present threat of resource scarcity. From the perspective of Homo sapiens, entering a new continent presented significant challenges. They were unfamiliar with the local flora and fauna, the subtle cues of the landscape, and the unpredictable nature of the glacial climate. Neanderthals, on the other hand, had hundreds of thousands of years of accumulated knowledge about these environments. They knew which plants were edible, where to find water, the migratory patterns of prey animals, and how to survive the brutal winters. Interbreeding could have been a way for modern humans to acquire valuable adaptations, shortcuts to survival knowledge, encoded within the Neanderthal genome. Indeed, genetic studies have identified Neanderthal DNA segments in modern humans that are linked to traits like immunity adaptation to cold climates and even skin and hair pigmentation. These genes may have conferred a selective advantage, helping Homo sapiens thrive in their new Eurasian homes. Imagine a modern human group struggling with a new pathogen and individuals with Neanderthal-derived immune genes proving more resilient. This would certainly promote the spread of those genes within the population. Conversely, for Neanderthals who were likely experiencing declining populations towards the end of their tenure, interbreeding could have been a desperate bid for genetic rescue. Their populations were fragmented, often small, and likely susceptible to inbreeding and a loss of genetic diversity. Introducing new genes from Homo sapiens could have been a way to bolster their genetic robustness, to invigorate their gene pool, and perhaps stave off extinction, even if only temporarily. The irony, of course, is that while modern humans carry Neanderthal genes, the Neanderthals themselves ultimately vanished from the fossil record. The frequency of these interactions also speaks volumes. The relatively low percentage of Neanderthal DNA in modern humans suggests that while interbreeding occurred, it was not a widespread or continuous phenomenon. It was likely sporadic, perhaps happening when populations met at the edges of their territories or when environmental pressures pushed them into shared resource-rich areas. It might have involved small, isolated groups where the need for new genes or new mates was particularly acute. Furthermore, the existence of deserts of Neanderthal DNA in our genome regions where Neanderthal genes were actively selected against and removed indicates that not all introgressed genes were beneficial. Some combinations of genes might have led to reduced fertility or other detrimental effects, a phenomenon known as hybrid incompatibility. This suggests that while some interbreeding was advantageous, there were also genetic barriers, evolutionary safeguards, that limited the extent of gene flow between the two species. For instance, the X chromosome, crucial for fertility, shows significantly less Neanderthal DNA, hinting at potential reproductive challenges in male offspring of these unions. The question of why Neanderthals ultimately disappeared while Homo sapiens thrived is complex and remains a subject of intense scientific debate. It's unlikely to be a single factor. Climate change, the competitive advantage of Homo sapiens in terms of social networking and technological innovation, and even the very act of interbreeding itself could have played a role. It's possible that interbreeding, while sometimes beneficial, could also have contributed to the dilution of the Neanderthal genome, ultimately leading to their absorption into the larger, more rapidly expanding Homo sapiens population. If the children of mixed unions tended to integrate into modern human groups, this would over time lead to the gradual disappearance of distinct Neanderthal populations. The story of Neanderthal modern human interbreeding is not merely a scientific curiosity, it fundamentally reshapes our understanding of what it means to be human. It challenges the long-held notion of a clear linear progression of human evolution, revealing a far more intricate and interconnected past. It demonstrates that our lineage is not a pure, unblemished line, but a mosaic built from the genetic contributions of multiple ancient human groups. We are in a very real sense walking, breathing archives of these ancient encounters. Beyond the purely biological implications, the narrative of interbreeding forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves. If two distinct human species could interbreed, what does that say about our own definitions of race and difference? It underscores the inherent fluidity and interconnectedness of human populations throughout history. The very idea of purity in human ancestry is rendered meaningless by the undeniable evidence of our shared genetic heritage. The legacy of these ancient encounters is not just found in our DNA, it resonates in our imagination. What were those meetings like? Did they communicate through gestures, through rudimentary language, or did they simply share the profound silence of the vast, wild world? Were there moments of fear and hostility, side by side with moments of curiosity and perhaps even tenderness? We can only speculate, projecting our own human experiences onto a past that is both deeply familiar and utterly alien. The scientific journey to uncover these truths has been as remarkable as the revelations themselves. From the initial skepticism surrounding the idea of interbreeding to the sophisticated genomic analyses that now routinely identify ancient introgressions, the field of paleogenomics has rapidly transformed our understanding of human origins. Each new ancient DNA sequence extracted from a fossil bone adds another brushstroke to this increasingly detailed portrait of our deep past. Consider the ethical dimensions of such research. The ability to sequence the genomes of extinct hominins raises questions about our responsibility to these ancient relatives and how we interpret and present their story to the wider world. It is crucial to avoid perpetuating outdated stereotypes and to instead embrace the complexity and dignity of these ancient lives. The story continues to unfold. With every new ancient genome sequenced, with every new archaeological discovery, our understanding of these interactions deepens. We are still uncovering the full extent of the genetic legacy left by Neanderthals and how these ancient genes continue to influence our health, our susceptibility to disease, and even our behavior in the modern world. For instance, some studies suggest links between Neanderthal genes and conditions like Crohn's disease, lupus, and even nicotine addiction, although these connections are complex and require further research. Conversely, other Neanderthal gene variants may have provided protection against certain viral infections prevalent in Eurasia. The question, was it love or survival? Ultimately leads to a deeper understanding. It was, in all likelihood, both. It was the desperate, pragmatic choices driven by the instinct for survival interwoven with the fundamental human capacity for connection, for curiosity, and perhaps for affection. It was the messy, complicated, and utterly compelling reality of human history. Our ancestors, both modern human and Neanderthal, were not monolithic entities. They were individuals navigating a challenging world, making choices that, unknown to them, would shape the genetic landscape of all future humanity. The echoes of those ancient encounters continue to resonate within us. When we trace our own ancestry, We are not just following a single thread back through time, but rather a complex braided cord, enriched by the genetic contributions of those who came before, including those who were once considered entirely separate. The Neanderthals, far from being a failed evolutionary experiment, are an integral part of our story, a testament to the interconnectedness of all life, and a powerful reminder that our past is far more complex and far more fascinating than we ever dared to imagine. Their extinction is not an end to their story, but a transformation as their genetic material flows forward through the veins of billions of people alive today. The vastness of the time separating us from these events can make them seem abstract, but imagine for a moment the scene, a fire crackling in a cave mouth silhouetting figures. Perhaps a modern human mother holds a child with a slightly more prominent brow, a testament to a union born of circumstance or connection. Perhaps a Neanderthal elder, observing the newcomers, recognized a shared humanity, a reflection of their own struggles and triumphs in the harsh Ice Age world. These were not just scientific abstractions. These were real lives, real choices, real encounters that fundamentally shaped who we are. The unraveling of the Neanderthal genome has also opened up new avenues for understanding their cognitive abilities. While we may never fully grasp the nuances of their thoughts or emotions, the evidence of their complex behaviors, their tool-making, their burial rituals, their potential for symbolic thought, suggests a level of sophistication that belies earlier simplistic interpretations. This further strengthens the argument that interaction, rather than mere displacement, was a plausible outcome when these two human groups met. They were not so alien as to be entirely incomprehensible to each other. The narrative of human evolution is no longer a simple tree with distinct diverging branches. It is a tangled bush, a vast and interconnected web where gene flow and admixture have been recurrent themes. The Neanderthal story is not an anomaly, but rather a powerful illustration of this broader pattern. Other ancient human groups, like the Denisovans, have also left their genetic mark on modern humans, particularly in parts of Asia and Oceania, further reinforcing the notion of a richly interwoven past. These discoveries challenge the very concept of species as rigid, unchanging categories, particularly within the dynamic context of human evolution. As we continue to delve into the depths of our genetic past, the picture becomes even more intricate. We are finding evidence of multiple waves of migration, multiple encounters, and a constant ebb and flow of genetic material across the vast landscapes of prehistoric Earth. The story of human origins is not a singular epic, but a collection of countless interwoven tales, each contributing to the richness and diversity of the human story. The enduring legacy of the Neanderthal serves as a powerful reminder of the deep interconnectedness of all humanity, transcending geographical boundaries and historical divides. It compels us to look beyond superficial differences and to recognize the shared ancestry that binds us all. The whisper of the ancient past carried in our DNA tells a story not of pure lines and singular origins, but of a dynamic, collaborative, and ultimately profoundly human journey. A journey where survival often intertwined with curiosity and perhaps even with love. The journey of discovery is far from over. As technology advances, as more ancient DNA is recovered and analyzed, the resolution of our evolutionary tapestry will only become finer. We will undoubtedly uncover more chapters in this remarkable story of human interaction, more instances of genetic exchange that will continue to reshape our understanding of who we are and where we come from. The Neanderthals, once seen as a separate and ultimately failed branch of humanity, are now firmly cemented within our own family tree, a testament to the complex and interconnected nature of life itself. Their story is our story, a testament to the enduring human spirit of adaptability, resilience, and the subtle yet powerful force of connection across the ages. It is a story whispered in our genes, echoing from the icebound plains of ancient Europe, a story of survival, of connection, and perhaps of the most fundamental human emotion of all, The legacy of Neanderthal-modern human interbreeding isn't just a historical curiosity, it's a living, breathing part of who we are today. Beyond the percentage points of DNA in our cells, specific Neanderthal genes have been identified as having a tangible impact on our traits, our health, and our adaptation to diverse environments. This ongoing research continues to unravel the subtle yet profound influences of these ancient encounters. One of the most compelling areas of study focuses on immune system genes. As modern humans spread out of Africa, they encountered a whole new spectrum of pathogens and diseases to which Neanderthals, having lived in Eurasia for hundreds of thousands of years, had already developed adaptations. Studies have shown that some Neanderthal-derived immune genes, specifically those involved in our innate immune response, were advantageous. These genes may have provided early Homo sapiens with a prepackaged set of defenses against novel viruses and bacteria, allowing them to better survive in these new territories. For example, specific Neanderthal gene variants related to our immune system have been linked to protective effects against certain viruses, including some coronaviruses. This suggests that the genetic blueprint for battling ancient diseases passed down from Neanderthals might still be helping us contend with modern illnesses. Beyond immunity, Neanderthal DNA has also been implicated in traits related to skin and hair. Adaptation to different levels of sunlight and colder climates was crucial for Homo sapiens migrating into Eurasia. Genes influencing keratin, a protein essential for skin, hair, and nails, show clear signs of Neanderthal introgression. These genes likely contributed to variations in skin pigmentation and hair texture, potentially offering advantages in environments with less intense UV radiation. For instance, specific Neanderthal alleles have been associated with lighter skin tones and even freckling in European populations, and with different hair pigmentation traits in both European and East Asian groups. This isn't just about appearance. It's about crucial physiological adaptations, such as the ability to synthesize enough vitamin D in regions with limited sunlight. The story isn't always one of advantage. Researchers have also identified Neanderthal DNA that may have had detrimental effects on modern humans, leading to their removal from our genome over time. These Neanderthal deserts, as they are sometimes called, are regions of our DNA conspicuously lacking Neanderthal sequences. This suggests that certain Neanderthal gene combinations were either incompatible with modern human biology or conferred a reproductive disadvantage, leading to their rapid elimination through natural selection. One fascinating, albeit concerning recent finding, suggests a link between Neanderthal genes and Chiari malformation type 1, a neurological condition where the base of the brain protrudes into the spinal canal due to an unusually small skull. This research, examining the skull shapes of modern humans with the condition and comparing them to Neanderthal fossils, suggests that a Neanderthal genetic influence on skull development could be a contributing factor. Such discoveries highlight the complex and sometimes unpredictable consequences of ancient genetic mingling. Furthermore, Neanderthal DNA appears to have influenced aspects of metabolism and even behavior. While the links are more subtle and still under investigation, some studies have explored potential connections between Neanderthal genes and traits like fat metabolism, sleep patterns, and even susceptibility to certain psychological conditions. This underscores the pervasive and often unexpected ways in which ancient genetic legacies can manifest in modern human biology. The ongoing revelation of these specific genetic contributions paints a much richer picture of the interbreeding events. It suggests that these were not just random encounters, but interactions with tangible biological consequences that shaped the trajectory of modern human evolution outside of Africa. The genetic landscape of modern non-Africans is a living testament to the environmental pressures, adaptive challenges, and perhaps even the sheer serendipity of those ancient meetings. The scientific methodology behind these discoveries is itself a marvel. Extracting minute fragments of DNA from bones tens of thousands of years old, then meticulously sequencing and comparing them to modern human genomes, requires sophisticated techniques and immense computational power. The development of advanced statistical models and machine learning algorithms allows scientists to pinpoint specific regions of Neanderthal ancestry and to infer their potential functional impact. This is a field constantly evolving, with new discoveries regularly refining our understanding. One particularly intriguing area of current research involves examining introgressed DNA in ancient modern human remains. By studying the genomes of Homo sapiens who lived shortly after the main interbreeding events, scientists can see a higher proportion of Neanderthal DNA than is present in people today. This allows them to observe how natural selection acted on these genes over time, actively removing some while favoring others. This dynamic process provides direct evidence of the adaptive challenges faced by our ancestors and the genetic solutions they inherited either through their own innovation or through genetic exchange. The very concept of what constitutes a species is challenged by these findings. If Homo sapiens and Neanderthals could interbreed and produce fertile offspring, albeit with some genetic incompatibilities, does that truly make them distinct species in the strictest biological sense? This ongoing debate highlights the fluidity of biological classifications and the complex reality of evolution, where boundaries are often permeable. Ultimately, the story of Neanderthal modern human interbreeding transcends academic discourse. It speaks to a fundamental aspect of the human condition, our capacity for interaction, adaptation, and genetic exchange. It reminds us that our past is not a singular narrative of conquest, but a shared journey interwoven with the lives of our ancient relatives. The Neanderthals, once relegated to the role of a dead-end branch on the evolutionary tree, are now understood as integral participants in the grand story of human diversity. Their echoes are in our skin, our immune systems, and perhaps even the very shapes of our skulls. What further secrets might our ancient DNA hold about these remarkable encounters?